Hello, welcome back to LARK UK. My name is Adam and today we're going to continue the theme of change. So last week I dropped a vlog about how I'm going to be changing up my training. I'm going to be tweaking a few things in order to try and improve as a runner. Today we're going to look at my plans for 2024 and how they're also going to change. So let's dive straight into the episode. Yeah, so last week I covered the things need to change vlog, so I've basically decided that I've kind of come as far as I can with my own knowledge and my own experiences and doing the same things I've kind of been doing for the last 12-18 months. So that vlog covered how my training is going to be changed and adapted in terms of trying to make continued steps in terms of my improvements as a runner. So if you've missed that one, go and watch that one. That's just in terms of my training plan and my changes to how I'm going to be running in terms of my training programs, my training blocks, etc. But this one's going to cover my racing for 2024. I'm going to do a separate vlog in terms of the specific races I'm entering. So again, that'll probably drop next week. But this one's going to be covering what races I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how this is going to change in terms of my previous plans, in terms of what I used to do in terms of racing. So those of you that have followed the channel for quite a while now, in 2022, was when I kind of started the channel, and basically it was just to document my first ever marathon training block, and that was the kind of one goal race that year. I trained really hard for that marathon, managed to obviously complete it, my first marathon in 3:48, and then this year I was obviously making plans in 2023 for what races I wanted to do. I couldn't commit to a marathon training block, so I looked at other distances, and the half marathon was one I'd never really entered before in terms of focused on it. So I never actually run a half marathon race ever. So this year, obviously, those again have watched along this year in 2023, I entered 2 different half marathons. So then obviously now coming to the end of the year, my racing's finished. What do I do next year? So I've been looking at how things have gone this year, what's gone well, what's gone not so well, what I would want to change, which distances I want to look at, what races do I want to enter. And in terms of my training, it's going to be quite not a drastic change, but there is going to be some quite big tweaks. Racing wise, there's going to be quite a big change in terms of this year in 2020. Well, not this year. Next year in 2024, the motto is going to be more races and less racing. So what that means is basically I've decided I'm going to dive into the world of race pacing for a number of reasons. Firstly, I love helping other runners. This is kind of why the channel evolved slowly. That I like to help other runners, give out tips and advice from what I've learned and understand. Obviously, my background in sport and coaching, so I like to help other people, especially in terms of the sporting arena as such, in terms of helping other people. So pacing would allow me to do that. During the race, I can help other runners, encourage people around me. So it's something I've thought about for a while, but I've decided to jump into it in terms of head first next year into 2024, and also I kind of see it as a win-win that I enjoy. Recently I've been enjoying since my racing has finished for this year, I've been enjoying going down to other races and spectating. I kind of enjoy watching other people give their max efforts and just enjoy watching runners generally. So and obviously this year it was semi-successful in terms of I've set a half marathon PB in the 2 races I've run this year. However, especially the second one in terms of Cheshire Half Marathon, when obviously I put all my eggs in that final half marathon basket, and I ran basically right up to my red line. It was a hot day. I trained really. That was the second of the 2 training blocks. So this was my last and final hurrah in terms of setting a new PB. So and obviously those that again have watched that vlog know that I had some not complications, but I had some issues at the end when I'd obviously pushed a bit too hard and in too hot of a day in terms of. I basically just went well beyond where I probably should have gone on that day. I had dehydration and heat exhaustion, etc. So, and at the end, I did come to a bit of a realization that there was no enjoyment in that. I enjoyed the race per se, but there was a lot of pressure on me to try and do well. But that's self-inflicted pressure. I only put it on myself. So I've kind of took a step back and realised that it might be too much in terms of I'm pressurising myself to train for so many weeks, and then on the one day of the race itself, you've got to kind of hope everything aligns and the weather's good and you're feeling good. And again, that happened with Chester. I feel I was peaking in terms of my training. I was in better condition probably a couple of weeks before Chester, 2-3 weeks before Chester. So on the day, again, after picking up a small niggle, I wasn't quite 100% again. So it was kind of one of them, again, those that haven't watched the 2023 review, go and watch that. I've kind of covered all this in a bit more detail in terms of what could have been, but so yeah, I looked at racing again and thought, well, which races do I actually want to enter? So in terms of, and then again, if I'm not going to push to my maximum, then is there any point in entering a race at all? So yeah, so on the back of 2023, obviously I've looked at it and thought, well, if I'm going to race, I want to do obviously making a max effort, but obviously I don't want to be having that same situation again where I'm requiring medical assistance, because obviously I'm not someone that goes into it half-heartedly in terms of, oh, I'll just trot around. I don't see the point of entering races in terms of that context. So hence that's why I've changed my tack in terms of training. I'm going to give it all out in training. I'm close to home. I can pick and choose the hard workouts. If it's a bad day in terms of weather-wise, again, I can alter the plan. So I'm far more flexible in that. So that kind of vlog last week covered how I'm going to switch to become more intensive in terms of my training. That should help me make continued steps in terms of my progress and fitness and speed, etc. Which then naturally kind of dovetails with this one, that then in terms of racing-wise, I still want to do them. I enjoy participating in races, I enjoy spectating races, I enjoy seeing running in different areas and running different courses, etc. And obviously now this basically pacing just pops up in terms of it makes sense. It allows me to enter races. I don't have to run it anywhere near my maximum. I can to some extent pick and choose the pace I'm going to be pacing at, which means I can pick a comfortable pace. I can then enjoy the race itself, taking the day as a whole in terms of the atmosphere, the course, the route, the surroundings, the people that I'm running with, rather than just be focused on me and my times and my watch and making sure I get to the finish line as quick as possible. So that's going to be the change in terms of 2024. Yeah, so obviously combined with the training change and obviously this now racing change, I think they work better together. That I'm not at the mercy of the race day itself in terms of putting all my training into that one day. And I guess that's part of it, that if you want to race and set a PB, that you are at the mercy of the weather and you are at the mercy of how you feel on the day. And if you wake up with a dicky tummy or your legs feel heavy, then that's just part of the running life as such. But I feel obviously again I'm at a level or position where I can do a lot of my PBs and time trials closer to home. So at the Cheshire Half Marathon, for example, as I was running around that course, I looked around and I remember thinking that this is very similar to the country lanes I run around on a regular basis. So other than the fact that it's a closed road and I get a medal at the end, and they give out, I think they had a couple of Duke stations. Other than that, there was no, and it's chip time obviously, but other than that, there's no massive differences. I could have run something very, very similar close to home. So I feel like I can replicate, especially at the lower small distances, the 5Ks and 10Ks especially. I can run fast time trials. I don't really need to enter races for those distances. Half marathon, I've kind of maxed out on that distance this year in terms of double training block. So yeah, for 2024, it's going to be pacing. I've already got 4 races confirmed. Again, on the next vlog, when I cover my races, I'm going to cover all the 4 races I'm pacing, and then I've also got one. Actually, I'm actually entering one goal race. I've already entered it for 2024. It's going to be one actual goal race that I'm actually going to run. I'm not pacing that one. I'm going to run it, and that'll be the single only goal race I'm doing in 2024. But again, I'll cover that on next week's vlog in terms of my races. So look out for that. That'll be one goal race, and obviously at the minute I've got 4 pacing kind of races already lined up. I'm reserved for a 5th one, so I'm not the lead pacer, but if that person drops out, I'll drop in. And I've also got one that's pending, so there's technically up to 6 races I'll be pacing at the minute. I might do more, I might do less. Well, not less, I'll definitely do them, but I might do a couple more if the opportunity arises. So yeah, I've got, like I say, 4 to 6 races I'm going to be pacing through 2024. Mostly 10Ks, I think there's 3 or 4 of them are 10Ks and a couple of half marathons in there. So, but again, I'll cover this on the next week's vlog rather than go into too much detail on this vlog. But that's kind of a wrap up. That so training is going to change. I did the vlog last week. I'm going to look at that being far more intensive, and that'll be where I put all my kind of hard efforts, my max efforts. I'll be doing time trials through the year to try and improve my PBs, and I can pick and choose which points in the year I do them, pick a day at a time that suits, and it makes me give the best opportunities for me to improve those. And then I'm going to tweak, and my racing is now going to become predominantly pacing, which then allows me to enjoy my races, help other runners even more, and basically, like I said, win-win. I get to help other people, I get to enjoy the races, but I still get to participate and race. But next week I said I'll cover which specific races I'm pacing, with the dates, the times, and what pace times and paces I'm running at. in case anyone wishes to enter them, or if you're down there already doing the races, when I disclose them, obviously you'll be able to come and see hello, say hello on the day. I can meet new people. And then obviously I've also got one goal race, which I'll disclose in the next vlog in terms of the one race I'm going to be actually racing for. I'm going to put a solid training block for that. And that'll be the only race I'm going to enter in terms of as actual trying to set a PB and race it specifically. And then the final thing, the week after next, so obviously hopefully in the next 7 to 10 days, I'll drop my running shoe restock. I've purchased all my running shoes for 2024. I'll literally just do a quick vlog in terms of what I've bought and why. Obviously now I've got to buy the shoes which generally match my target. So this year obviously I bought running shoes where they would cover the mileage. I did a budget running shoe experiment, but I was hopeful they would cover my half marathon training, which they have done. But this year with a few changes in terms of harder training, more intensive training, but then also more racing at various distances. But I'm not actually racing them. Obviously I'll cover my running shoe restock, what I bought, why I bought them, how much I've paid for them, etc. Have I gone budgets again? Have I gone the other way and gone really expensive? Have I gone somewhere in the middle? How many shoes have I bought and why? So I'll cover all that in my running shoe restock vlog. That will hopefully drop, I said, hopefully in the next couple of days, in the week or so. Yeah, I'll wrap it up there. So like I said, there's a lot of change in 2024, lots of things to look out for. Like I said, my training is going to change, which I've covered last week. This one covers my racing is going to change and the reasons why. So I'm really looking forward to doing a lot of pacing in 2024. It'll give, I see it as a massive positive, massive win-win. That do more races, but I do less racing. It means I can just enjoy the experience far more. I can probably look back now and think how many races have I actually physically enjoyed, and the ones I've actually entered the 8 to 10 races I've done in my lifetime so far. There's maybe only a handful I've actually physically enjoyed. Yeah, so I just see it as a win-win. I help other people. It obviously helps me as well in terms of I get to enjoy the racing. I get to do more of it, rather than just obviously I could only really pick a handful, maybe 1 or 2 real goal races. Like most runners can only pick 1 or 2 goal races. Whereas I'm not really going for I've got one goal race as such, but I've got lots of different races I can just take part in and enjoy, and my training will be the focus. I can work that around the race pacing, and again, because I'm going to be pacing at a comfortable pace, I don't really need to taper or anything for them. I can, as long as I'm fresh enough to be able to cover that distance in that time comfortably, which I should be able to, especially if I'm making more and more improvements in my running. So basically just, that's the plan. Drop in the comments if you've ever done any race pacing, or if you've ever had any benefit from a pacer in terms of, I've not actually often, I've actually, I've never really often utilised the pacer. I've obviously had them in my view in a couple of previous races, and I've tried to kind of keep in touch with them, but I've never actually been with a group of pacers or within a group that's being paced and had the benefit of it. So I'm really looking forward to covering that next year in terms of me being the pacer, maybe having a group of runners around me, and I'll help everyone get across the finish line in a goal time, etc. Encourage everyone. So you drop in the comments if you've either been a pacer or if you've benefited from a race pacer in terms of a race you've entered and a pacer helped you get across the line or helped you along the way. But yeah, look out next week for the actual information in terms of what races I'll be pacing, and if you happen to be entering into any of them, then I'll look forward to seeing you guys on the day. But yeah, next week I'll cover that the actual races I'm entering, and finally I'll do the running shoe restock, and then obviously rolling into 2024. That's a load of change, a lot of projects I'm going to come up with in terms of my training schedule, in terms of how I'm going to tweak my training, what I'm going to be looking at, and obviously all this racing is going to be different, but there'll be far more races and race day vlogs. So yeah, look out for all that. Thank you as always for watching. Happy running. I'll see everyone on the next one.